Every ridiculous law is the ghost of a forgotten story. We're unearthing 48 of the most bizarre traditions that somehow became actual, enforceable legislation. From places where dying itself is outlawed to governments that require a permit for reincarnation, this isn't a list of fakes from the internet. This is a journey into the world's weirdest legal realities. 1. What happens when a town's most permanent residents take up all the available real estate? In the French Riviera town of Le Lavandou, the mayor's solution was to go to war with mortality itself. He passed a law making it illegal to die within city limits. This wasn't a scientific breakthrough, but a spectacular act of bureaucratic protest against the government for denying an expansion of the full cemetery. It's a brilliant legal checkmate, serving the Grim Reaper a cease and desist order until the proper permits are signed. 2. Your brain has a simple reflex. When a coin falls, you might instinctively trap it with your foot. In Thailand, that reflex could get you thrown in jail. Every single coin and banknote features the face of their deeply revered king. In Thai culture, the head is sacred and the feet are profane, the lowest part of the body. Placing your dirty shoe on the monarch's image is therefore a grave criminal offense. This law turns a clumsy moment into a potential felony, making every dropped bot a high-stakes test of your cultural awareness. 3. Let's imagine we're writing the world's most bizarre law. How about this? It shall be illegal for a donkey to sleep in a bathtub. This sounds like legislative Mad Libs, but it's a real ordinance in Arizona. It dates back to a 1924 incident where a local merchant's donkey, who loved napping in a porcelain tub, was caught in a flash flood. The whole spa setup was swept a mile downstream, leading to a costly rescue. The town's genius solution wasn't flood control, but specifically outlawing that one donkey's favorite pastime. 4. An annual performance review is already a source of anxiety. Now, imagine your boss showing up with a tape measure for your waistline. In Japan, the Metabo law legally requires companies to do just that for employees between 40 and 74. If your midsection exceeds the government-mandated limit, you are flagged for dieting guidance, and your employer can face fines. It's a fascinating fusion of traditional collective responsibility and modern corporate bureaucracy, ensuring that office birthday cake is no longer just a treat, but a potential corporate liability. 5. Have you ever been so annoyed by someone that you wished you could have them arrested? The legal system in the Philippines says, you can. The crime of unjust vexation, a strange relic of Spanish colonial rule, makes it illegal to intentionally cause another person annoyance, irritation, or torment. It requires no physical harm, only a successfully rattled nerve. This is a legal superpower for the perpetually irritated, a codified weapon against loud chewers, people who watch videos on their phone without headphones, and anyone who stands just a little too close in line. 6. Imagine a food so menacing that the government declared it must be legally disfigured before being sold. For decades in Canada, that enemy of the state was margarine. Driven by a ruthless dairy lobby, laws forced margarine producers to dye their product a grotesque color, often a cadaverous white or an industrial warning yellow. The goal was to prevent any sane consumer from mistaking it for real butter. It was a bizarre, multi-decade war on a butter substitute, fought with food coloring and pure, unadulterated legislative spite. 7. A late-night bathroom run in Switzerland can spark a profound existential crisis. This is because many Swiss apartment buildings legally enforce Nachtruhe, a sacred period of night rest where noise is forbidden. And the sound of a flushing toilet after 10 p.m. is considered a violation. This leaves residents with an agonizing choice. Do you break the law and disturb the national tranquility? Or do you respect the peace and allow your bathroom to become a UN-condemned biohazard zone by morning? 8. There are countless ways to break the law, but only in Gainesville, Georgia, can you commit a felony with a fork. As the self-proclaimed poultry capital of the world, this city has a long-standing ordinance that makes it illegal to eat fried chicken with anything other than your bare hands. What began as a clever PR stunt in the 60s has become a legendary piece of local identity. In Gainesville, using a fork on fried chicken is not just a culinary sin. It is a direct and prosecutable act of treason against Southern hospitality. 9. You can give your pet pig almost any name in the world. But if you live in France, do not name him Napoleon. A peculiar and very real law makes it illegal to name a pig after the legendary emperor. This is a holdover from a 19th century statute designed to protect the dignity of the head of state from being ridiculed. It stands as perhaps the world's most specific and posthumous defamation law, shielding the ego of a man dead for 2 centuries from an animal whose biggest ambition is a good mud bath. 10. The old joke asks how many people it takes to change a light bulb. For a time in Victoria, Australia, the legal answer was 1. But he'd better be a licensed electrician holding a valid certificate. Thanks to absurdly strict safety regulations and powerful trade unions, it was technically illegal for an ordinary citizen to perform this most basic of household tasks. This law elevated a 5-second chore into a professional service call, representing the absolute pinnacle of nanny state overreach. You could drive a car, but you couldn't screw in a bulb. 11. We find our final point not in absurdity, but in profound respect. Within many Native American nations, it is illegal to photograph or record sacred ceremonies. This isn't about hiding something, it's the legal armor for a living tradition. These rituals are considered powerful spiritual events, not performances to be consumed or turned into social media content. The law acts as a firewall, protecting the integrity of a culture from the modern world's insatiable appetite for commodification. It's a powerful reminder that some things are so sacred. The only way to protect them is with the full force of the law. 12. If you're a psychic in Baltimore, Maryland, your biggest challenge isn't seeing the future, it's seeing a loophole in the law. It is a crime to charge money for fortune-telling, with violators facing fines and potential jail time. This statute is a ghost from the 19th century, written to combat a wave of fraudulent mediums who preyed on the grieving. The result is a strange legal landscape where you are perfectly free to predict the future for your friends. But the moment you try to monetize your visions, you've committed a crime. 13. For a brief, bizarre period, Greece declared total war on video games, all of them. In a clumsy attempt to stamp out illegal electronic gambling, the government passed a law so comically broad that it outlawed everything from online poker to your kid's Game Boy. It was the legislative equivalent of using a nuclear weapon to kill a fly. Poor Mario and Sonic were caught in the blast, becoming accidental outlaws in the Hellenic Republic simply for existing. 14. In Connecticut, a pickle's legal status hinges on one crucial physical property: its ability to bounce. This is not a joke. Back in the 1940s, 2 con artists were caught selling mushy, glorified cucumbers as pickles. In response, the state's Food and Drug Commissioner, a man who clearly believed in pickle integrity, established the bounce test as law. He reportedly demonstrated by dropping one from a foot high, and if it splattered, it was a fraud. Its quality control elevated to the level of slapstick comedy. 15. Think you can offload all your pocket change on some unsuspecting cashier? Not in Canada. The Canadian Currency Act of 1985 sets strict legal limits on how many coins you can use in a single purchase. For instance, you can't pay for your coffee with more than 25 pennies or use more than $10 in dimes. This law isn't about economics. It's about codifying the simple social rule of not being a complete menace. It's the government officially saving retail workers from customers trying to pay for a TV with a bucket of nickels. 16. Trying to leave a tip in South Korea can be a surprisingly awkward experience. While it isn't illegal, tipping is culturally taboo and often seen as insulting. The practice is rooted in a Confucian tradition where good service is expected and shouldn't require an extra reward. For a Western visitor, this can be deeply confusing. Your act of generosity can be perceived as a suggestion that the worker is not paid well enough. turning a well-intentioned gesture into a potential social blunder. It's a place where your money is not always welcome. 17. The beautiful Italian island of Capri is engaged in a war, not against crime, but against noise. Specifically, the noise made by your shoes. It is illegal to wear excessively noisy footwear, a law created to combat the clacking sound of wooden sandals popular with tourists. The island's tradition of serene tranquility is so valued, it's protected by municipal ordinance. This means your choice of flip-flops could technically make you a public nuisance, legally jeopardizing your vacation with every step you take. 18. A truly baffling law found in Kentucky and several other states makes it illegal to carry an ice cream cone in your back pocket. This wasn't a bizarre legislative attack on messy eaters. It's a fossil from the age of horse thieves. The clever trick was to place a sweet treat in your pocket to lure a horse away without physically touching it, thus creating a legal gray area. So, a law designed to prevent grand theft equine now exists solely to criminalize a very specific and frankly idiotic way of transporting a dessert. 19. How do you know a country is confident? Look at its postage stamps. British stamps are the only ones in the world that don't display the country's name. This isn't an oversight, it's a statement. The tradition, now a global convention, dictates that the nation that invented the adhesive postage stamp doesn't need to introduce itself. The image of the reigning monarch is sufficient identification. It is the quietest, most powerful, and quintessentially British flex in the history of international mail. 20. Let's travel back to 1313 England for a law that sounds like it was written after a very bad day at the office. It is illegal for a member of parliament to enter the Houses of Parliament wearing a suit of armor. The statute forbidding bearing of armor was created to, quite literally, de-escalate politics. At a time when a heated debate could easily spill into a sword fight, this law ensured that disagreements were settled with arguments, not axes. It remains in effect today, just in case things get a little too heated during budget discussions. 21. The titans of Japanese sumo wrestling command immense respect, but there's one place their power is useless: the driver's seat. An official rule from the Japan Sumo Association forbids active wrestlers from driving cars. This isn't a status symbol, it's a matter of pure physics. The association worries that a wrestler's massive frame makes it physically impossible to safely control a standard car, from squeezing behind the wheel to properly working the pedals. It's a rare case where you are legally required to have a chauffeur, not because you're a VIP, but because you're simply too big for the machine. 22. Thinking of naming your child something creative in Denmark? You'll have to run it by the government first. Parents must choose from a pre-approved list of around 7,000 names. If you want something off-list, like Thor or Zeus, you must submit an application to a special committee. This law stems from a paternalistic tradition of protecting children from names that could cause them lifelong ridicule. It's the government's attempt to save a generation of kids from being named XA12, whether they want the help or not. 23. In Switzerland, loneliness isn't just sad, it can be illegal for your pets. An animal welfare law, born from the tradition of treating animals humanely, forbids owning just one of certain social species. You cannot, for example, own a single guinea pig. The law requires you to have at least two so they don't get lonely. The country even has services that will rent you a companion guinea pig if one of yours passes away. It's a beautiful, if deeply bureaucratic way of enforcing friendship. 24. Germany's Autobahn is a temple of speed, but it has one unforgivable sin: running out of gas. Stopping on the highway for a non-emergency reason is illegal, and an empty tank is considered a preventable failure of planning, not an emergency. This perfectly captures the German cultural ethos of meticulous preparation. It's more than a traffic violation. It's a legal judgment on your personal incompetence. The law expects your road trip strategy to be as thorough as a military operation. 25. Everyone knows Singapore banned chewing gum, but the reason isn't just about clean streets. The final straw came in the late 1980s, when vandals realized they could use wads of gum to jam the door sensors on the country's brand-new, multi-billion-dollar subway system. The constant disruptions became a national headache. In response, the government didn't just fine offenders, they banned the importation and sale of gum entirely. A few transit saboteurs ruined it for everyone. 26. Packing for a Caribbean vacation? You might want to leave your camouflage shorts at home. In many nations, including Jamaica, Barbados, and St. Lucia, it is illegal for any civilian to wear camouflage clothing. This pattern is strictly reserved for the nation's military, and the law is enforced. Tourists have been fined and even detained for the fashion faux pas. It's a stark reminder that a style choice in your country can be interpreted as a challenge to authority in another. 27. France, a nation that treats its food with near-religious reverence, has specific laws protecting the integrity of the snail. For a snail to be legally labeled escargot on a menu, it must meet rigorous standards for species, breeding, and size. This is a direct extension of the French tradition of defending its gastronomic heritage. It's a reminder that in France, that slimy thing from your garden isn't just a mollusk. It's a potential culinary treasure with bureaucratic protection. 28. In the nation of Turkmenistan, some of the world's biggest pop stars would be considered criminals. The former president, Saparmurat Niyazov, completely banned lip-syncing at all public concerts and cultural events. He declared the practice a threat to the development of true musical art. In Turkmenistan, faking your way through a performance isn't just cheating your fans, it is a literal offense against the state. 29. If you're a dog owner in Turin, Italy, your pet's bathroom schedule is not just a suggestion, it's the law. A city ordinance requires you to walk your dog a minimum of 3 times per day, or face a significant fine. This rule was born from a powerful local tradition of animal welfare, turning what most would consider responsible ownership into a strict legal mandate. It's a wonderful idea, though one has to imagine a lazy old bulldog being dragged out for his 3rd walk, thinking, this is government overreach. 30. And now, for a law that feels like a forgotten punchline to a joke nobody remembers, we go to Ohio. In the Buckeye State, it is illegal to get a fish drunk. There is no official explanation. We don't know who is doing it, what kind of twisted party led to this legislation, or why lawmakers felt the need to protect the sobriety of the local base population. All we know is that somewhere in Ohio's history, a line was crossed, and that line involved intoxicated aquatic life. 31. Washington State has taken a bold legal stance on a very hairy issue. In 1969, Skamania County passed an ordinance making the slaying of a Sasquatch a felony, punishable by a hefty fine and jail time. This wasn't a joke. It was a preemptive strike against a growing number of Bigfoot hunters descending on the region. It's a beautiful example of local tradition protecting its folklore, legally classifying a creature of legend as an endangered species. 32. The tiny, ancient Republic of San Marino has one of the world's most brutal performance reviews for its leaders. The country has 2 heads of state who serve for just 6 months. By law, after their term expires, there is a 3-day window in which any citizen can file a legal complaint against them for their actions in office. Imagine if, twice a year, your entire country had a legal, government-sanctioned opportunity to sue the president for doing a bad job. That is radical accountability. 33. Here's a simple travel tip for Venice. Leave your bicycle at home. In fact, leave anything with wheels. The city's ancient tradition as a pedestrian-only labyrinth of canals and footbridges is protected by law. Attempting to ride a bike, a scooter, or even a skateboard through its narrow, crowded alleyways is strictly forbidden. Your scenic ride will end abruptly with a large fine and the unified, withering glare of 1,000 Venetians. It's simple. Walk or get in a boat. 34. In Samoa, forgetting your wife's birthday isn't just a relationship mistake. It can be a criminal one. A long-standing law on the books makes it illegal for a husband to forget his wife's birthday. While it's rarely, if ever, enforced with actual jail time, it serves as a powerful legal codification of a cultural expectation. It elevates a domestic tradition of respect and remembrance into a matter of state concern, making it arguably the world's most effective anniversary reminder. 35. In France, the government has declared war on a very specific enemy: ketchup. A bizarre law strictly limits its use in school cafeterias to protect the nation's culinary heritage. It can only be served once a week, and only with French fries. This isn't about health. It's a desperate legislative stand against the perceived invasion of American fast food culture. They are legally safeguarding the palates of French children from the sweet, tomatoey grasp of foreign influence, one carefully rationed dollop at a time. 36. You hear a great song, the beat drops, and you start to dance. In most of the world, that's just a good time. In Sweden, it could be an illegal gathering. A strange and persistent law requires a special permit for spontaneous dancing in public venues like bars and restaurants. It's a holdover from a 1970s Public Order Act intended to control unruly crowds. While rarely enforced on individuals, the law technically turns a fun night out into an act of unlicensed revelry. 37. And now, for a law so pointless, it achieves a state of pure legislative nirvana. In the landlocked state of Oklahoma, a place famous for its plains and profound lack of ocean, it is illegal to eavesdrop on a whale. Let that sink in. A law protecting the privacy of an animal that has never been within 1,000 miles of the state line. Its origins are a mystery, but it stands as a perfect monument to the absurdity of copy-pasting laws without considering geography. It's a solution to a problem that Oklahoma will, with absolute certainty, never have. 38. For over 60 years, the city of Reykjavik, Iceland, was, by law, a dog-free zone. The ban began in 1924, not because Icelanders are exclusively cat people, but as a drastic public health measure to stop the spread of a dangerous parasite from dogs to humans. The fascinating part is that even after the disease was completely eradicated, the tradition of a dog-free capital persisted and was legally enforced until 1984. It was a city where, by law, cats reigned supreme. 39. The laws of London have a very strong opinion on your spring cleaning. It is illegal to shake or beat any carpet or rug in the street at any time. There is, however, one glorious exception. You are permitted to shake your doormat, but only before 8 a.m. This is a direct descendant of a Victorian-era obsession with public order. At 7:59 a.m., you are a responsible, tidy citizen. 2 minutes later, at 8:01, you are a dust-flinging public menace. 40. Picture this. You're on a romantic drive along the Italian coast, you lean over to kiss your partner, and suddenly you're hit with a massive fine. In the town of Eboli, it is illegal for couples to kiss inside a moving vehicle. This isn't about moral outrage, it's about traffic safety. The local government decided that a passionate smooch was a dangerous distraction, turning a basic act of romance into a prosecutable offense. It is perhaps the world's most effective and least romantic distracted driving law. 41. If you want proof that ancient traditions are still alive, look to the swans of the United Kingdom. By a law that dates back to the 12th century, any unmarked mute swan swimming in the nation's open waters legally belongs to the king. This isn't just a historical footnote. Every year, a royal team conducts the swan upping, a census where they literally row down the Thames counting the king's birds. It's a bizarre, majestic, and legally protected ritual from a time when swans were a royal feast. 42. In Thailand, the government is interested in what you're wearing, right down to your most intimate layer. It is technically illegal to leave your home without wearing underwear. This isn't a law about preventing public indecency, as no one is going around checking. It stems from a cultural tradition of personal preparedness and maintaining a standard of decorum, even for things unseen. It's a fascinating law that seems to police the very idea of being a respectable person. 43. How do you control the uncontrollable? If you're the government of China, you make it a law. A 2007 statute requires that all Buddhist monks in China get government permission before they reincarnate. Known as Order Number 5, it states that any reincarnation application must be approved by multiple government bodies. This is a purely political move to control the selection of the next Dalai Lama, turning a sacred religious tradition into a matter of state-controlled, bureaucratic paperwork. 44. The beautiful bohemian town of Carmel, California, has a law that seems to have been written by someone who just hates fashion. It is illegal to walk on public streets wearing high heels with a base of less than 1 square inch or a heel over 2 inches tall without a special permit. Yes, a permit for your shoes. This isn't a style mandate, it's a legal shield. The city's uneven, historic sidewalks were causing too many trip-and-fall lawsuits, so they passed a law that essentially says, wear those stilettos at your own risk. 45. The entire nation of Monaco is built on the glamour of the Monte Carlo casino. There's just one colossal irony. Its own citizens are forbidden by law from gambling there. This tradition was started in the 1860s by Prince Charles III, who wanted the casino's revenue to fund his country without addicting his own people. So, the government happily takes money from foreigners while legally protecting its own citizens from the very vice that keeps the state afloat. 46. We've all dreamed of a mandatory afternoon nap. In the Spanish town of Ecuador, that dream is a legal reality. A municipal ordinance enforces a strict siesta from 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. every day. All loud work must stop and residents are encouraged to rest. This isn't just a quaint custom. It's a legal defense of a cultural tradition against the pressures of the modern 24/7 world. It is the only place on earth where you can tell your boss you can't take their call because it's illegal for you to be awake. 47. The United Kingdom holds one of the most famously absurd laws on its books, a perfect fossil of ancient tradition. It is illegal to die in the Houses of Parliament. This isn't due to some superstitious fear. It's a matter of cold, hard logistics. Anyone who dies within the Palace of Westminster is technically entitled to a full state funeral, an incredibly expensive and elaborate affair. This law exists purely to prevent the administrative nightmare of giving a state funeral to a tourist who had a heart attack in the gift shop. 48. And finally, a tradition so new it became a crime before we even knew it was a tradition. In Tennessee, if you're sharing your Netflix password with your parents, you might be a criminal. A 2011 law targeting professional hackers selling bulk login credentials was written so broadly that it also covers the casual sharing of streaming service passwords. It's a perfect example of old laws struggling to understand the new world, accidentally turning one of the most common social norms of the digital age into a prosecutable misdemeanor. So there you have it. 48 times a strange local habit became an actual law. We've seen everything from legally required bouncing pickles to an outright ban on dying. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these laws do you think is the absolute weirdest? Let us know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this journey into absurdity, make sure to subscribe.